Once upon a time, there was a little insect named Buzz. He was a diligent bee. Buzz lived in a beautiful garden, flying around every day to collect nectar and pollen, contributing to his family and the beehive. One day, Buzz encountered a playful butterfly named Flutter. Flutter was curious about Buzz's work, so he asked, "Buzz, why do you bees collect nectar and pollen?" Buzz smiled and replied, "Flutter, nectar and pollen are very important to us bees. Firstly, nectar is our food. It contains rich nutrients that keep us strong and healthy. Pollen, on the other hand, is our source of protein, nourishing our muscles and bodies." Curiously, Flutter asked, "How do you bees store the nectar and pollen you collect?" Buzz explained, "We bees take the collected nectar and pollen back to the beehive and seal them with special beeswax. Beeswax is very sturdy and protects the fruit from the effects of air and moisture. This way, we can retrieve the stored food from the beehive during winter or when food is scarce to sustain our survival." Amazed, Flutter continued to inquire, "Buzz, how do you bees collect nectar and pollen?" Buzz happily answered, "Bees have numerous tiny tubes on their bodies called antennae. The antennae have many sensory organs that help us sense the fragrance of flowers and locate the position of pollen. When we find a flower, we use our mouth and tongue to sip nectar, and the fine hairs on our bodies also gather pollen. As we leave the flower, the pollen stuck to us falls onto other flowers' pistils. This process is called pollination. Pollination is crucial as it enables different flowers to mate and reproduce. Flowers attract bees and other insects to collect nectar and spread pollen, ensuring their own propagation. In return, we bees obtain nectar and pollen as food. It's a mutually beneficial relationship." Engrossed, Flutter continued, "Buzz, how do bees communicate with each other?" Buzz smiled and said, "We bees have a special language called the bee dance. When we discover a garden rich in nectar, we return to the beehive and inform other bees about its location and the abundance of nectar through dancing. There are two types of dances. A circular dance around the beehive signifies that the garden is close by, while a figure-8 dance with body wagging indicates that the garden is farther away. By observing the type and frequency of the dance, other bees can accurately find the garden and collect nectar. It's a highly efficient way of communication among us bees." After hearing all this, Flutter exclaimed, "The world of bees is so fascinating and complex. You not only gather food for yourselves but also aid in the reproduction of flowers, and you have your unique way of communication. It's truly remarkable." Buzz chuckled and said, "Yes, we bees are an essential part of the natural world. Through collecting nectar and spreading pollen, we make significant contributions to the survival of plants and the balance of ecosystems. I hope you now have a deeper understanding of our work as bees and can protect and respect us diligent little insects."